So I'll call this meeting to order at 5:35. At this time, we'll state the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
of the
of the
United States of America and to the
to the
republic
republic
for which it stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice for all.
for all. All right, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Sure can. President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Secretary Robinson is present, Trustee Buchanan, Trustee Wadley Seats,
Yes.
Trustee Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Watson.
Present.
All right, we have a quorum. At this time, may I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
All right, moved by Vice President Crowder. May I have a second?
Support.
Supported by Trustee Watson. Any questions, comments, concerns regarding tonight's agenda? All right, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Secretary Robinson votes yes. Treasurer Buchanan is absent. Trustee Wadley Seats,
Yes.
Trustee Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Watson.
Yes.
All right, approval of the agenda passes. At this time, we have public comment on the agenda items only. Public comment is on the agenda items only. Anyone online that would like to speak towards public comments on agenda items only, you have 3 minutes. All right. No open public comment. I'm sorry, no public comment on agenda items. Board business, it's time for the superintendent evaluation. This evaluation is done yearly in the state of Michigan. Based on the revised school code, it requires all boards to evaluate their superintendent's performance on a yearly basis. At this time, Dr. Townsend, as last week, you have the option, based on the Open Meetings Act, to go into closed session under personnel, since it is a superintendent evaluation, or to have this evaluation done in the open. How do you choose?
I'd like to choose a closed session, please.
All right. So I need the superintendent is choosing a closed session. May I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
I would so move that we go into closed session for the superintendent's evaluation.
Okay, I'll take you as a support, Mr. Watson. I
That's
heard,
fine.
no, that's all right. I heard Trustee Wadley Seats
Okay.
and Mr. Watson supports. Any questions, comments, concerns before we go into the closed agenda? Madam Secretary?
President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Secretary Robinson votes yes. Trustee Wadley Seats,
Yes.
Trustee Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Watson.
Yes.
All right, at 5:39, we're in closed session. We'll be back after closed session. So if we can have IT give us a closed session room. Secretary Robinson,
I'm present.
Vice President Crowder, Trustee Seats. So we just have to wait just a second.
Crowder and Seats are visible in the room.
Are they? Or they must have their mics muted.
I was muted, sorry.
Okay. Ms. Seats? Mrs. Seats?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Okay, you're up. All right. So we're all back. May I have a motion to go back into open session?
So moved.
Moved by Vice President Crowder. May I have a support?
Support.
Supported by Trustee Watley Seats. We're into open session at 8:09. At this time, I'm going to read aloud. If we can get to the tab, Liz, on the evaluation tool. So at this time, based on the evaluation, I'm going to read the consensus score rating identified for each performance indicator and the calculated domain scores. And that consensus score is 93%, or a score of 3.73. Next, we'll go to the score for the district-wide goals. The Board of Education rated Superintendent Townsend with a 3, which is effective. And lastly, progress towards district-wide goals. The Board of Education rated Dr. Townsend 3.08, which is also effective. And the final overall rating for the superintendent is 3.37, or 83%, which is effective. So the superintendent's evaluation score is 3.37. All right, so at this time, may I have a motion to adopt the completed year-end evaluation for the superintendent?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Watson. May I have a support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Bradley. Any questions, comments, concerns before we call the vote?
Mr. Taylor, my apologies. Did we need to call a vote to open the session? Because we had a motion and a support, but we never called a vote to do so.
Yes, ma'am. Please do that.
Okay,
Sorry
President
about that.
Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Secretary Robinson votes yes. Trustee Wiley Seats,
Yes.
Trustee Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Watson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Continue.
Okay, motion passes. And so we have a motion on the floor. So were there any questions, comments, concerns before we call the vote? Secretary Robinson, please call the vote.
President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Secretary Robinson votes yes. Trustee Watley Seats,
Yes.
Trustee Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Watson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next, the superintendent notes his or her comments on the evaluation. I think you already did that, Dr. Townsend. And after that, the overall rating earned by the superintendent. We did that already. Dr. Townsend will sign the evaluation form. I'll come in and sign that later. And now you can have your public comment about your performance with the media as well. And I'm just reading off of the evaluation tool. And this evaluation tool will be posted online. I'll show Liz the document that's needed to go online to share with our stakeholders so they can understand what tool the Board of Education used. All right. And I don't see any, is there any new business or any old business from the board?
President,
I would-
go ahead.
Mr.
I
Bradley?
was just gonna say, I would discuss the training, CBAs tomorrow at the, main meeting. Just
Okay.
all my new business there.
Okay. Mr. Watson?
President Taylor, based on the score that was given to Dr. Townsend, understanding that we have we've dealt with a pandemic this year, and roughly, essentially, the first year has been a wash. It's been actually almost a year to the day. And based on what the score was for his evaluation, and given the purview of the board, I would like to put a motion forward to extend Dr. Townsend's contract 1 year. That would be my motion.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to extend Dr. Townsend's contract for 1 year. Do I have a support?
Support.
Motion by Mr. Watson, supported by Vice President Crowder. Any questions or comments or concerns before we call the vote?
My main concern would just be, and it's nothing against you, Dr. Townsend, is just know that my main concern would be that, if we do the contract extension, it just be, our history with superintendents in past. It's nothing to do with you, Dr. Townsend. Like I said, it's just a thing that I'm taking into consideration and thinking about.
So I got a question, Mr. Bradley. So what do you mean by, I know you had that statement, so you're saying that you prefer not to extend, or?
I prefer not to extend at this time.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns from board members? Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, Secretary Robinson, call the vote.
President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Secretary Robinson votes yes. Trustee Wiley seats.
Yes.
Trustee Bradley,
No.
Trustee Watson.
Yes.
All right, so the vote passes. At this time, we have open public comment. Anyone on the phone for open public comment?
Yes, my name is Ronaldo Triplet. I live at 818 Crystal Avenue in Benton Harbor, Michigan. And I do have a couple of concerned questions that I need to ask, and you all don't need to answer them, but you can follow up however you want to. First of all, I wasn't really sure on what step you were in the evaluation cycle. And so now I see, since you all have evaluated the superintendent and have added a year to the contract, you are in the summative assessment of the 5 steps, or the steps that lead up to the evaluation of the superintendent. I do have a question. Were there any adjustments made to the evaluation cycle as it relates to the timing of this particular evaluation? And the reason I ask that is because it is a special board meeting. And I want to know what the urgency was, because if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Townsend came to this district in February and it hasn't been a complete year. And so I wasn't really clear on how long, or if you guys changed the evaluation cycle, and if so, why did you change the evaluation cycle? And there's another question or concern, not really a concern or question, but in the policy, in the Benton Harbor Area School Board of Education policy as it relates to evaluation, there anything that speaks to the amount of time that board members have served on the board and their ability to actually participate in an evaluation of this level. I just needed to see, because I was trying to go through and look at that, because in the evaluation, the steps, you know, the self-assessment, the analogies, the goal setting, the plan development, the implementation of the plan, the formative assessment, and then the summative assessment. And you all at the summative assessment already. So I haven't just been actively involved in the following the board meetings and what have you, where you guys are and where you guys were in this particular process. But if in that policy, because you do have people who were appointed to be on this board, and some of them have been, I don't know if they've been on here a year. I don't know if they've been on here 6 months. I don't know how long they've been on here. What part of the evaluation did they actually participate in? What part of the evaluation were they able to do with fidelity? And so I know that there's a composite sheet when you said when you put that information on the website, or when that becomes available, will also each one of you guys sheet that your score sheet, will that be available for the public to see as well? Because I do. I mean, you don't have to answer. These are just some of my concerns, and I can also follow up with this with writing to you all. But these are just some questions and some things that I would just wanted to put out there as a citizen of this community.
Well, Mr. Triplett, you know, as you get ready to sit on the Board of Education, for example, you'll find that really we're not supposed to answer the questions, but since you are a incoming board member and you're going to have to evaluate as well, I want to answer that question. So what happens in the evaluation process, it's a mandate by the revised school code of Michigan. So that's a Michigan compiled law. So it's the law that you have to evaluate a superintendent yearly. Now the superintendent was hired in December. He came to the district in February. And you talked about, did we change the evaluation cycle? Of course we did, because we had a pandemic and we couldn't assess normally in May. But the Board of Education can determine, you know, like through MASB, Michigan Association of School Boards and stuff. I'll give you the document that we use, but we can determine the cycle that we choose to evaluate. And in that determination of Michigan Association of School Boards evaluation tool, they give you a timeline starting from like May on up to the end of November. Well, because of our meeting, we ended up here at the second week of December. And so it's legal. And so when you were talking too about appointments don't, just because a person's appointed or elected through the people, it's all the same in the state of Michigan, because you're still a school board member, and all of our board members that did do the actual evaluation were trained through Michigan Association of School Board for the evaluation training. And the new board members, even yourself, when you guys come on, you will not be allowed by law to do an evaluation unless you are trained to do the evaluation. I hope that answered your questions. And the superintendent's evaluation will be posted as far as his scores. And as far as the stuff we did, remember, we went into closed session, and you can't show anything. How should I say this? You can't give out information from closed session. That's against the law.
It's not about it, but I guess that wasn't my question, and I'm familiar with everything that you just said. My questions were simply this, because when you have if the person that collected each one of you all's individual ballots and submitted those ballots become public information. It's not a secret. Or is our policy different? But the reason I asked is because, and it has nothing to do with appointments or anything. I was just saying, along the process, there is a process to this evaluation. There are some parts of the evaluation that some people, according to the timeline that they've been on this board, that they missed. And so how were they able to evaluate or even participate in the complete evaluation of a superintendent? And in 9 months,
Well, because Mr.
board-
Triplet, because
Yes,
I just
sir.
stated to you what the law says in the revised school code. It says
I'm
the
familiar
board.
with that. I'm familiar with that, Mr. Taylor.
Okay, and
Yeah,
so because I tried to answer your question, and remember you have 3 minutes, and I think I answered it to the best of my ability, because you talked about appointments, you talked about members, could they actually take it or do the evaluation? And I said that they were trained based on Michigan Association of School Board, and they can answer the questions any way they want. It's not about fidelity. It's about them answering the question. And maybe if they answer the question they knew or didn't know, they can answer it however they choose. We can't control how a person answers the evaluation.
well, yeah. So I first of all, I didn't really expect a response from you, but you wanted to give a response. So I appreciate that. I just had some questions, and I think I've come to an understanding.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you so very much.
Oh, no problem, sir. Anyone else from the public with open public comment? All right, Superintendent, do you have any comments to close?
No, I thank Benton Harbor Area Schools for giving me an opportunity to serve as their superintendent in this past year. I will continue to meet the goals of the district, work collaboratively with our Board of Education, and keep students first to ensure that we can move the needle in academic achievement, as well as get our finances in order. I'm excited about the new year and what it brings, the new team coming on board. I look forward to working with them. And I'm excited for our students of Benton Harbor to give them the best education experience possible. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, board member comments, starting with Mr. Bradley.
Just wanted to say good evening to everyone. Welcome to the new board members. I see a few of you on the call tonight. I'm glad that you all are getting involved and listening in. I have no comments tonight. Like I said, I'm going to give a summary tomorrow on the CBA weekend. That's
All right,
all
thank
my
you, Mr.
comments for
Bradley.
tonight. You're very welcome.
All right, Trustee Watson.
Thank you, President Taylor. Just comments related to the meeting tonight. The evaluation, like I said, it's a pleasure working with Dr. Townsend, and Dr. Townsend has managed to maneuver through a lot of obstacles under the COVID-19 umbrella that have been thrown at him by the state of Michigan and just in general. Like I said, it's a pleasure. It's been a pleasure working with you thus far. Just as an FYI, this board acts as a body, not as individuals. And the score that is given is a collective summary of all of our inputs. And as President Taylor said, what was done in closed session is not subject to public unless there's a criminal or there's some criminal law, some criminal action filed, and then it would become, and then there would be the subpoena for the closed session information. But that's just FYI moving forward. But again, I'll reserve my comments for tomorrow at the regular meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Denise Watley Seats.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being a part of this board. I really do appreciate it. I've learned so much through the process. Dr. Townsend, I know you'll do well. I'll keep other comments, till tomorrow, but just to say that I know you'll do well. Again, and jumping on Mr. Watson's comment, yes, this board, we're cohesive. It is about our youth. It is about our students. There are no, let's just keep it at that. Let's keep our focus on our students. New board members coming in. Let's keep our focus on our students. That's about it.
Thank you. Secretary Robinson.
I will keep my comments brief as well tonight because I'm sure I might get a little emotional tomorrow with it being the final board meeting of some of our trustees. But I just want to thank everyone for allowing me to participate in the evaluation tonight. It was an excellent learning experience from participating in the training and then going through both of the steps in our meetings with you all. So I just want to thank you all for your leadership and allowing me to participate.
Thank you so much. Vice President Crowder.
I enjoyed this process. It was a long process, but we all worked together and came up with a lot of consensus. We all feel the same way about our wonderful superintendent. And I want him to know that I still support him, even not being on the board. So if he needs a mother figure, not an aide, but a figure, to help him anytime or to run things by, he can feel free to contact me.
Thank
That's
you.
it. Mhm.
No comments from me. May I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Support.
Support.
All right, so moved by trustee Seats, supported by trustee Watson. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
I'm sorry, President Taylor, can you please repeat who supported the motion?
It was supported by trustee Seats,
No, it was made by trustee Seats.
made by trustee Seats, supported by trustee Watson.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Secretary Robinson votes yes. Trustee Watley Seeds,
Yes.
Trustee Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Watson.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Meeting is adjourned at 8:31. See you guys tomorrow.